So why don't we start with an introduction?
Okay, I'm Kay. I am the oldest daughter of Chester. I am Uncle Leo's favorite niece. And this is my husband, Gray.
And I'm Gray. I married Uncle Leo's favorite niece.
Well, I say that because I used to spend quite a bit of time at their house in the summer. I'd go over and stay a week or so, and then Neoma would come and stay at my house a week or so. One time when I went over there, we all went to Bible school together, went on the Boston Bible School. And they used to have cows and pigs and, baby animals. Especially when they had baby pigs, they would give them names. They had some named Kay, and they had a pig named Jim after my brother. They were stinkers about that. But we had so much fun. Aunt Hazel would fix fudge and popcorn. We had so much fun at her house. I loved Aunt Hazel and Uncle Leo. Anyway, you wanted me to talk about...
Yeah, actually, let's continue on with the two of you. Why don't you both tell us how you met and when you were married?
Well, we met because his dad and I taught Sunday school together at the same church, and he was in the Navy, and his dad wanted me to write to him. So I was teaching school at the time, and I thought, well, I guess I could do that. So I wrote him a letter, and he answered.
That was it. That was my downfall. We wrote for a few months, and then I came home on leave, and we dated a while, and then I went away to more school in the Navy, and we continued to write. And got engaged at Christmas, came home 6 months later and got married. Had about, 3 dates? Something like that.
Mostly
on letters.
Yeah, letter writing relationship.
And phone calls.
And
A lot of
some
phone calls.
yeah.
Which proves that it does work. It's 40. This is our anniversary today, 42 years later. And so letter writing works.
Yep, and then we lived in California for 6 years. 3 years he was in the Navy, and then 3 years he went to school, but he stayed in the Navy Reserves. Then we moved back to Michigan. He worked for General Motors, and meantime we started our family. We had twins, and then after we came back to Michigan, we had Betsy, and a little boy in between there that didn't make it. Well, this is my high school graduation picture, so he wasn't part of my life at that time. I had a lot of fun in high school. I was a cheerleader and played some sports, and I was
musical instrument.
I played in the band. My older brother Jim was a year ahead of me. Didn't care to have me around too much, but I wanted to hang around him because he had a lot of good-looking boyfriends. Do you remember this picture?
Oh yeah, pretty girl.
Then this one is after we got married. Gray's dad wanted a picture of us, but he wanted Gray in his uniform, and that was when he was stationed in California. We went and had our picture done professionally. When we got married, he wore his uniform also, and we cut the cake with his sword, didn't we?
Yeah, but you were telling us how when you were in New York, mostly you lived in an apartment and you were in civilian clothes unless you happened to be on duty. It was the same with me. I didn't wear a uniform most of the time, just to and from the base, and of course if I was on duty, or if I was I used to fly to Vietnam, and of course I'd be wearing a flight suit when we're on the plane. But when we were home, and I was in civilian clothes, and most of our friends in the neighborhood lived in apartments as well, and they weren't in the Navy. They worked for Hewlett-Packard and Stanford and different places around California there. So most of our friends were civilians, and so we were in civilian clothes most of the time. This was in uniform because my dad wanted a picture of us in uniform. So
I was teaching school at that time, and I taught junior high PE. And I had some real interesting times. I coached a track team. I had some girls that were really good in track. And we were quite active in the church, although Gray would be gone for a week or week and a half at a time because he flew in and out of Vietnam. So I was alone quite a bit. So I was glad to have that church family and the friends from church. Holly and Molly were born at Stanford University. And it was a big deal then because they were twins. So it was a teaching school, so everybody and their brother was in there watching, and but he couldn't come in. Back then they didn't have the dad in the room with the mother, and so they were about 18 months old. No, were they 18 months? 2 years. We moved back to Michigan, and he started working for General Motors.
You're almost 3.
And
Because we were having twins, Stanford was like U of M hospital. It was the teaching hospital around there. And in the Navy, in those days, you had to pay $25 because there was no Navy hospital right near there. So they used the facility of the civilian facility. And it was normally $25 for a berth. But because there was twins, we had to pay an extra $250, so it cost us $27.50 to have twins in those days.
so that was Polly and Molly.
Yeah.
And they're now 39 years old. Then when we moved back to Michigan, we had a little boy, but he died at birth. And then a year later, Betsy was born. And Betsy is
33.
still home with us. She's 33 years old. I guess I should go back and say what Polly and Molly are doing. Polly is married a farmer, and she lives in Nebraska, has 3 sons. And she's a school teacher. And Molly married a doctor. They live in Bloomfield Hills, and she's a nurse. And they have 3 children also, 2 boys and a girl. And then Betsy is with us. She doesn't have any children. She's not married. She does have a fiance, and they've set a wedding date a couple of times. So we're not sure if she's going to get married or not.
No.
Anything else?
Very good. How about, let's talk about food.
Food.
Does she make anything in particular that you really like? What is your specialty, so to speak?
She makes great spaghetti. She is really good on spaghetti. In fact, she's good on everything. She's a good cook. But she says she's not, but she is. And she's gotten to the point where we're both retired, and she says, well, I've retired from cooking too, so we eat out a lot. But she is a really good cook.
Ice cream, homemade ice cream.
Yep.
That's my favorite.
Well, Hazel used to make good homemade ice cream.
Yes,
Is there
Aunt
any
Hazel
chance you
did.
could bring some Saturday?
Well, I might be able to.
We're going to. And the more, you know how that goes through the
Yeah,
Armstrongs.
right, yeah.
If anybody wants to.
Okay.
Chocolate almond and what's the other one?
Chocolate almond's my favorite, and butter
Well,
pecan.
Butter pecan.
Try
And
either one of them.
Jim
Yeah.
makes a ice cream too. Maybe he'd bring his
Give him a
freezer.
call. If you can,
Yeah, he
see
is
if he wants to, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, more the merrier.
Yeah.
How about remind us, because you know Leo and Hazel too.
Oh, yeah.
So from both of you, remind me what you remember their marriage like. What do you remember about the two of them together?
Well, Aunt Hazel was a wonderful cook, and so anything she made you liked to eat. And Uncle Leo was a cut-up, and he teased me and teased me and teased me. Every time I was over there, he was always teasing me about something, and he was funny. He had a funny personality, and he made funny faces sometimes. He was just a clown. I loved him. He was just the greatest.
I think of him as feisty. I remember every story I ever heard about him, and every time I met him, he was just feisty. I remember one time he and Dad were up at Shepherd doing something or other, and another car with a bunch of young guys in it were kind of acting up, and I don't know what exactly was happening, but Uncle Leo picked up a bottle or something and heaved it at their car, and yeah, and these other guys then took off, and I thought, well, that sounds like Dad and Leo. But and also when I think of him, also I think of this funny story. He was sick, I think, or in the hospital and having some checkups, and the doctor was asking him what operations he'd had, and he says, well, he'd had a hysterectomy, and I still laugh when I think of that.
And don't forget the time that Aunt Hazel said that they're a family of long livers.
Oh, I remember that. I remember telling her, I said, who wants a long liver?
And then the doctor says, he has liver trouble? She thought the doctor thought he was talking about a problem with his liver.
I think he meant he had an appendectomy when he said he had a hysterectomy.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
thinking of appendectomy. So that made the Guinness Book of Records when Uncle Leo had his hysterectomy.
And I remember the last time we saw Aunt Hazel out here. She came out here. I think was it Randy brought her out? I think it was. And she was out here in the back, and she was already suffering from cancer at the time. But you never would have known it. I mean, she had a smile on her face. She's just a friendly lady, and always smiling. I remember that about her.
You know what else was neat about her is that she would always figure out any of the girls that were pregnant. She would always figure out if it was going to be a boy or a girl. She'd look at them, and figure out how they were carrying it or something. She'd always guess whether it was a boy or a girl and stuff, and she could kind of figure that
Was
out.
she usually right?
I think she was.
He
Yeah.
was right a lot.
Yeah.
What kind of music do you two like? Do you have a particular artist or singer or
You've
Style
never
of
heard
music?
of any of them. It's all bluegrass mostly, or Southern gospel. We like Southern gospel. The Gaither vocal band, a lot of bluegrass. Of course, I was born in Dog Branch, Virginia. What do you expect?
Hey, you're gonna like Saturday.
Really?
Yeah. Can I talk?
Absolutely.
Diane, Dean's wife, is a bluegrass nut.
Really?
She goes to all the bluegrass festivals.
Oh, good.
Well, she's got 4 girls that do bluegrass music and travel around. They're coming Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Really?
She's bringing them over there.
I
That'd be
wondered
great.
what the live music
That's-
was.